Hi everyone, so I hope everyone is doing really well. So on Insights YouTube channel we are starting a new series, that is Insights the Daily Decode, in which we would be covering the entire Hindu newspaper, the important editorials, the important articles and the background around it. So this would be covering everyday daily things which are related to your maps, which are related to the background information, which is related to your mains, prelims, everything. So before I start, my name is Sanjay Kumar. I've been part of Indian Army. I've also been part of Intelligence Bureau, and I'm an internal security and current affairs faculty at Insights IAS. So let's start. So important things which would be covered, as I've already told you: daily current affairs and news analysis, important articles across other platforms. For example, when we are covering Hindu, there might be some other important articles which might have come on Chanakya Forum, ORF, IDSA or Indian Express or any other newspaper which is very important for a UPSC CSE aspirant. So we would be covering that also. Prelims and mains expected questions with answers. We would be covering prelims, MCQs, PYQs which are related to topic, and also giving you a mains question which has already come or which can come with an expected line of answer, that what is question exactly expecting out of you. Finally, important map positions and important map position. For example, right now Middle East is in the news, Russia, Ukraine is in the news, and if Prime Minister or any important dignitary from the country is traveling to a particular country, for example, the External Affairs Minister was in Pakistan, and similarly, if any of the minister, president, prime minister are traveling to important countries, we would be covering those map positions also, because we have seen that in prelims these kind of information have been asked in the questions. If we come today, in today's newspaper of 17th October 2024, some of the important news: Shanghai Cooperation Organization meeting in Islamabad, MSP prizes, BIS theme, Canada-India tussle, 5 Eyes support Canada. Basically this topic is related to this only. FAO report on climate change and poor farmers, Global Hunger Index 2024 and Nobel for Why Nations Fail. So if you see 16th and 17th October, regularly two articles have come specifically to the Nobel Economics Prize, and they have spoken about something called extractive and inclusive institutions, and this is a very important topic from UPSC point of view. So moving ahead, let's move towards the first important news, that is related to India-Pakistan avoid blaming each other at SCO meeting. So certainly a positive aspect we can see at SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So this is the first time the External Affairs Minister from India has traveled in the last 9 years to Pakistan, and eventually what came out of that meeting seems to be productive in nature, because there was no hard statement neither from the Pakistan side and neither from the India side. So let's dig deeper into this issue. So Shanghai Cooperation Organization, if we see, the meeting happened in Islamabad. Initially we were not even sure that the External Affairs Minister would be traveling to Islamabad or not, but eventually he did travel to Islamabad, and there was a significant moment in the India-Pakistan relation because External Affairs Minister did travel, and this is the first by any Indian foreign minister. Pakistan in 9 years, the atmosphere was more positive compared to the previous, basically at the UNGA assembly and the last SCO meeting, where the atmosphere was very hostile in nature, with Pakistan going again gaga over the Kashmir issue and India talking about Pakistan and terrorism or Pakistan sponsored terrorism. Though the External Affairs Minister did speak about terrorism, and he did speak about, but again he was referring to the SCO charter, and he did not name Pakistan in the eventual statements given by the External Affairs Minister. So moving further, the key interaction at the SCO meeting, Jaishankar informal exchange, and there was also a lunch and the dinner hosted, where we saw the External Affairs Minister did meet the Prime Minister, Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar, though there was no bilateral meets between India and Pakistan, and even before the starting of the meeting, before the meeting of SCO, it was quite clear that there would be no bilateral meetings between India and Pakistan. But anyways, this is a positive step in the direction that finally the External Affairs Minister did travel to Pakistan. So the lunch included dignitaries from all 10 SCO member nations, including Russia, China, Iran, Belarus, and Central Asian countries. Just to give you a brief information about Shanghai Cooperation Organization, this organization was initially called Shanghai 5. We'll come to the background part of the SCO later. Let us first just finish the important news around this. So both India and Pakistan avoided contentious. So I'll repeat that, both India and Pakistan avoided contentious issues. Basically, they did not name each other, and the environment in this entire meeting was very decent, and I can say that there was much better productivity compared to the UNGA and the previous Shanghai meeting. Moving further, cross-border terrorism, 3 evils. So again, when we come to External Affairs Minister Jaishankar Sir, he spoke about these 3 things again: terrorism, separatism, and extremism. And he also spoke about that how your neighbors behave with you, and if there is a trust deficit, if there is a trade deficit with your neighbors, there are certainly issues related to terrorism or something of that, something is missing between these 2 neighbors. So obviously the points, the fingers were at China and Pakistan, but the China and Pakistan names were not taken. So he avoided specific references to Pakistan's role in terror financing, Pakistan shift in Kashmir, and similarly, as External Affairs Minister was not talking about Pakistan's, not using their names. Similarly, if we see that Pakistan's Prime Minister also did not give any statements on Kashmir. If we just go some weeks back and what happened at United Nations General Assembly, Pakistan was again talking about Kashmir, again the atrocities of India on Kashmir, which they have been doing at United Nations General Assembly for a very long period of time. But this did not happen at SCO. So the meeting, again, as I said, it was, there was a warmth in the meeting. It was more productive in nature. So again, so this we have already covered for you. These are all pointers. Once you go through the PDF, you will be able to understand. So holistically, whatever you're reading in the Hindu newspaper would be covered in this session. So moving further, economic cooperation. Obviously, we spoke about at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization economic agreements. The meeting resulted in 8 signed documents, including proposals for economic dialogue program and a new economic strategy for SCO member state. Cooperation in various sectors, which included green development, digital economy, e-commerce, innovation, healthcare, transport, renewable energy, and climate change. So if we see that the meeting has been on productive themes, be it green development, digital economy, e-commerce, innovation, trade, and majority, and one other thing which also happened is that the focus in SCO for Pakistan was a lot also on China, that the Chinese Prime Minister was there, and most importantly, Chinese Premier, and he inaugurated the Gwadar airport also. So Pakistan also emphasized a lot on China, but this is what eventually came out of the SCO on productive themes: green development, digital economy, e-commerce, innovation, healthcare, transport, renewable energy, and climate change. So no hard statements by India towards Pakistan or China, and same we saw from the other 2 countries also. So future SCO meeting expectation, if we come on that, the next SCO Council heads of government meeting would be in Russia, and SCO heads of state summit would be in China. So let's see how this meeting, the positivity of this meeting which happened at SCO summit would be continued in Russia and China. Only time will tell, and I hope that the productivity comes out, and if we are able to find good relationship or build good relationship with Pakistan, obviously, as the government of India has continuously told in the past also, that the relationship with Pakistan can only be developed once Pakistan stops being the sponsor of terrorism. Until that happens, it would be very difficult to do so. So in conclusion, if we see all the positivity, the positive reception by the Pakistani Prime Minister and the External Affairs Minister, that was positivity, and how our External Affairs Minister had met the counterparts in the Pakistan, and the Information Minister Atullah Tarar of Pakistan has said that this is a positive reception. Plus he also said how India-Pakistan relationship goes in future depends upon the reciprocity between the 2 nations. So no formal bilateral meetings happened, except that the External Affairs Minister did meet the Mongolia counterpart. Okay, so Prime Minister of Mongolia, most SCO leaders had already met at SC Heads of Summit earlier, which had the meeting which happened earlier. So that is why bilateral meetings were relatively less. So in conclusion, if we see, in conclusion, this summit, first of all, we were not, the Prime Minister of India was called, but he did not visit, rather the External Affairs Minister visited there, and we were not, the news which was coming, you know, on all the media channel was that the External Affairs Minister might not go, but this is a very positive step in the direction that, you know, though it is a, there are multiple states in this Shanghai Cooperation Organization, there were no bilateral meetings, but at the end of the day, you know, you can never change your neighbors, be it Pakistan or China. So even if they are your arch rivals, and you know the kind of things which they have done in Jammu and Kashmir, Tawang, Arunachal Pradesh, or they claim to do there, specifically when China is claiming, you know, the entire Arunachal Pradesh, or they have taken Aksai chain, the Galwan issue is going on, be it the issue of de-escalation, de-engagement, Pakistan occupied Kashmir. Probably in the coming lectures we would be covering these topics also as and when these topics come in the news. But today, since we are talking about SCO, since we cannot change the neighbors, we need to talk to the neighbors wherever it is possible and find a dialogue. And obviously it is very pertinent and important that Pakistan stops being sponsoring the state-sponsored terrorism through Hizbul Mujahideen, Jaish-e-Mohammed, Lashkar-e-Taiba, all these tanzeems. So again, coming to this is the background part of this particular news. Like we've spoken about what happened at SCO, and this is the background part which UPSC does ask in a lot of questions, where it gives you static. Basically the question in the prelims is combined of the current and the static area. So we are covering the static area also. So it is a political, economic and security alliance. So it is a political, economic and security alliance that aims to foster and cooperate on counter-terrorism, economic development and regional security. These are the three major parameters: counter-terrorism, economic development and regional security. And it's now quite surprising that Pakistan is part of SCO and you're talking about counter-terrorism. So I think this is one of the biggest dichotomy when it comes to this organization. So it is primarily focused on Eurasian region. Plus the organization, it was established in 2001. Earlier this organization was known as Shanghai 5, and the original members were China, Russia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan. New members, India and Pakistan, were added in 2017, and Iran was added in 2023. Okay, so observer states and dialogue partners include Afghanistan, Belarus and Mongolia. These are the observer states of the countries, and India and Pakistan became members of Shanghai Cooperation Organization in 2017, Iran in 2023, and the original Shanghai 5 members are China, Russia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan. So here we complete the first news. Let's move to the next important news. Center increases MSP basically for the Rabi crops, wheat, 5 and other Rabi crops. And first of all, so cabinet increases MSP for the Rabi crops: wheat, barley, gram, lentil, rapeseed, mustard and others. So if a question comes, because there used to be a question what they'll do, they'll give you 3-4 options of Kharif crops, Rabi crops, and they'll ask you to match them or to find which one among them is not a Kharif crop or Rabi crop. So this is just a chart to give you a glimpse of that if any of this comes. Now this news which has come, obviously the the MSP has been increased, which stands for minimum support prices. It is a fair price, the minimum fair price which is being given to a farmer to insulate them from any kind of havoc which can come to their crops in terms of problems of rain or climate change, any problem which can come, and this is the bare minimum prices which government is offering. So Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs is the one which has taken the decision on MSP. So these two things are very important. Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, it is headed by the Prime Minister, and what is MSP? So these two are factual information which you should definitely know. So MSP for Rabi crops for 2025, a marketing season with a significant hike for wheat and other crops. So center announced the MSP for 6 Rabi crops is higher by 50 to 105% than the production cost. But major part which is very important for us is that these are remunerative prices, aims to ensure remunerative prices for farmers, incentivize crop diversification, that multiple types of crops should be grown rather than just growing one crop, and promote overall farmer welfare in alignment with government priorities, specifically when we speak about doubling the farmer's income. Doubling the farmer's income. So this is the goal of the government of India. So again, aligning with this goal of doubling the farmer's income, you see all these steps. Now the cabinet committee, this is the factual part. The Prime Minister of India heads it. Key economic policy making, it approves major economic decisions in the country, it approves MSP, it approves public sector investments, infrastructure project, reviews FDI, and also sets up the MSP in the country. So these are 3 to 4 major areas where Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs work. Next is what is minimum support prices, we've already discussed, so reiterating it. So it is the guaranteed price set by the government of India to ensure farmer receives a fair price for their crops, protecting them from their market fluctuations, or for that facing losses due to price volatility or any other things which can lead to price volatility in the market, and the farmers get basic guaranteed prices for the government. So it has been increased, again helping the farmers. So these two important things are there. What is MSP, and the second is Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs. Now next let's move to the third news, which is BIS, that is Bureau of Indian Standards, celebrates World Standard Day. So there was a theme around it. And what is Bureau of Indian Standard? These two are important news for today's lecture. So Bureau of Indian Standards, Bangalore celebrated World Standard Day on October 14, 2024, and the theme was Shared Vision for a Better World. So this is the theme. Again, this is a more prelims oriented news. First of all, BIS Bangalore celebrated this theme, which stands for Shared Vision for a Better World. And second important part is what is Bureau of Indian Standards. So Bureau of Indian Standards is India's national standard under the Ministry of Consumer Affairs. Please note this, it is under Ministry of Consumer Affairs. So it was established in 1986, and it works under it is governed by the BIS Act 2016, and most importantly it focuses on development and certification of standards and procedure and services to guarantee safety, quality and reliability. So if you've heard of ISI mark, so that comes from Bureau of Indian Standards. So some of the areas where it is, so standardization, giving certification, quality assurances. For example, ISI mark, hallmarking for the precious metal. This is again done by BIS. Quality assurance ensures products meet safety standards through lab testing. This is also done by BIS. International cooperation with organizations like ISO, that is also done by BIS from Indian side. BIS is essential for consumer protection and maintaining quality standards of products, goods in India. So be it ISI mark, hallmarking, collaboration with ISO, this is done by Bureau of Indian Standard, which was established in 1986. So now moving to the next news, this is pretty much in the news, what is happening between India and Canada. Just to give you a brief, what has gone through the last 3-4 days, if you're following news. So if we see the angle of India and Canada, so around in 2023, the Prime Minister of Canada went to his parliament, and then he said that, you know, the Indian agencies have been involved in killing of the Khalistani activist, terrorist, militant, whatever you want to say. So that is Hardeep Singh Nijjar, and Indian agencies are involved. And recently he came out and said that, you know, rather than the Indian agencies, Indian diplomats, Indian agencies and Indian diplomats are using some criminal organization or organized crime agencies. They even gave the name of Lawrence Bishnoi organization, the RCMP, that is the Royal Canadian Police Organization. They did a press conference and they said the Lawrence Bishnoi gang might be responsible or is responsible for the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar, which is a Khalistani militant terrorist activist. Different newspapers give different designations to him. So this started in 2023, but the problem is that again the Justin Trudeau, the current Prime Minister of Canada, has again come and told about these allegations and put these allegations against India, against the India's highest diplomat Sanjay Kumar Sir, who is in Canada right now, and that Indian agencies are responsible for killing of that Canadian citizens. But the problem is that the Canada still has not given any credible proof, or if they have done any credible investigation, the proof has not come. Even when the Justin Trudeau was giving a press conference, with the news channel, and he said that we don't have any credible proof or credible evidence, and we want that the Indian security agencies come and find this proof with us. Now this is quite vague. We have never seen this kind of thing, that a country comes in open and starts blaming the Indian government, Indian institutions, Indian diplomats without any proof. And when more than 1 year has been passed, but again we don't have any proof, the Canada is not sharing any proof. Rather they are going to organization called Five Eyes. So Five Eyes is an intelligence group where you get UK, US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada is trying to get diplomatic support from these countries to push India that that they start cooperating in this investigation. Obviously India has not denied that they will not cooperate, but the problem is that there is no credible evidence which is still not being given by Canada. So on the other hand, the Canadian Prime Minister is continuously doing press conferences, and I think by now 1 to 2 press conferences have been completed, but again no credible evidence or proof has come. And then Gurpan Singh Pannu, which is related to Sikh for Justice organization, he has recently said on one of the media channels of Canada that for the last 2 to 3 years he is directly talking to the Prime Minister of Canada. Now this puts a lot of suspicion on the current Prime Minister of Canada and his relationship with Khalistanis. So only over a period of time he can clear it. And other allegation which when Canada responded by putting allegations against India, so a very harsh and rather a very nasty statement came, a very harsh statement came from the External Affairs Ministry, that the statement given by the Canada are very preposterous in nature, and this is being only done because Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, his ratings in Canada are coming down, and he wants an external issue and using the Khalistani vote bank or the Sikh vote bank to increase his ratings so that he can do very well in his coming elections. So he is using India as a bait to popularize himself and to tell the people that he is the savior of entire Canadians, and that is the entire tussle which is going on, that the Canadians are using India as a bait and saying that that India did the assassination of Hardeep Singh Nijjar, but at the end of the day there is no credible evidence. And on the other hand, what India is saying that the Canadian Prime Minister ratings are coming down, and right now he is with the support of NDP, New Democratic Party, which is again led by Sikhs. So since he needs the support of this, and that party has a relationship with a lot of Khalistani, or they are Khalistani empathizers. So since they are Khalistani empathizer and Trudeau needs their support, that is why he is putting all these allegations against India. But at the end of the day, there is no credible evidence and proof which has been given by India. So in this Five Eyes intelligence and the today's editorial, both of these news have been covered. So I've summarized everything for you. Rest you can go through the entire PDF and PPT and understand that. So rest whatever I've told you has already been covered here. So again, same thing, support from the Five Eyes. This is an intelligence network between, I just told you, between New Zealand, Australia, Canada, UK and US. But again, all these statements which have come from these countries also, none of them are talking about, destroying or, or giving very harsh tone against India. They are just asking India to cooperate and find resolution to it. So though Trudeau went to these countries expecting that they'll also pass a very harsh statement against India, but that did not happen. So moving further, we have completed this also. This is today's editorial Canadian frostbite. So I've covered all these things, and most importantly, if Canada is not giving any credible evidence, India should also use media and all other platforms to push Canada to either give this evidence or give a clear image to India, because otherwise this is not also good for India's international and geopolitical image. So this we have covered. Next is climate change impact or harsher on poor farmers. This is a report by FAO report. So FAO report, the Food and Agriculture Organization report has come. It says that the climate change impact on poorer farmers is very high. Nothing new, but again the report has come. So disproportionate impact of climate change on Indian poor farmers, calling for enhanced social security net, that all these poor farmers should be covered under a better social security net. That means more social schemes should be there to take care of them. So the report titled The Unjust Climate was presented in New Delhi by FAO economist Nicholas Sitko. So the report name is The Unjust Climate. On climate change, impact on India's poor farmers. So the key findings of the report are that the poor household globally lose 5% of their income due to the heat stress which is happening because of the climate change, and 4.4% due to floods. So two important things which the report talks about is heat stress and floods. So do poor households globally lose 5% of income due to heat stress and 4.4% due to floods. So with rural poor in India hit harder during droughts, obviously the income generation is very low, and the other problem which these farmers have, that they don't have off-farm employment. So apart from agriculture, they don't have, apart from working on their farms, since they don't have off-farm employment, they are more badly hit by the climate change and the impact of climate change. So again, going back to this topic, and also since we were talking about the rabi crops, we were talking about increasing the MSP. Now that is why MSP is important, and most importantly, when you talk about doubling the farmer's income, and when we go to the news in this context, when FAO is talking about that if they are continuously only in farming, and if you are not able to give them diversified jobs or jobs in other areas, this will continue because they are dependent upon farming only, and if there is an impact of climate change, so their main source of income gets compromised, and if they don't have off-farm employment, the impact would be much more harsher on their life and on their income. So again, hit harder during droughts due to reduced off-farm employment. They don't have off-farm employment. So this can be a problem of skill set, this can be a problem of secondary sector, this can be a problem of education, be it primary education, secondary education, higher education. So again, this is a plethora of problems with our agricultural sector has been suffering from now decades, which I can say. So structural inequalities make poorer households more vulnerable, reducing their total income and exposed to climate stress. So there again, this is not only about climate change. The climate change is able to impact them more because they don't have other sources of income. And why they don't have other sources of income, again, that if we need to address is that we need a holistic and comprehensive approach to solve those issues. So the FAO calls for expanding the social security net, anticipatory social protection programs, increasing off-farm employment. So until unless we have better schemes, we have better MSFs, we have better off-farm employment opportunities, and off-farm employment opportunities will only come when you are able to develop your secondary sector, because in India's context, either we have a primary sector where majority of the population is dependent on agriculture. Our secondary sector did not develop like China, which they were able to do in 70s and 80s. And why secondary sector is important? Because in this sector, a majority of population can come and work. So our sector did not develop relatively compared to China. And our tertiary sector, which is service industry, obviously you need a lot of education background to work in that sector. So in this context, if we want a majority of population of agriculture which can be shifted to the secondary sector, or we want to give them off-farm employment in different sectors, the focus needs to be that we develop holistically and give them other opportunities. Otherwise, this problem will continue. And again, the problem of gender barrier is also there. If we talk about employment, the gender barrier, the employment which can be given to male are much more compared to female. So again, that issue is also there. So economic impact, floods and heat stress widen the income gap globally by $21 billion, $20 billion. This is specifically relative to your heat and flood stress. So 1% degree rise in temperature increases farm income by 53% for poor household, but reduce their off-farm income. So if their off-farm income is reducing and the other income is, so again, other income is increasing, they're back to square one. So India's response, Niti Aayog member Ramesh Chandra has emphasized India's proactive measures, including NICRA, National Innovations on Climate Resilient Agriculture, and they have said that the contingency plans have been made, and the report which FAO talks about, the recommendation it has been given, that should also be incorporated in India's coming plans. Now in the conclusion, if we see the conclusion of the report, again, the more social protection needs to be there, more social net needs to be there, off-farm employment needs to be there, and a holistic and comprehensive approach is needed for uplifting the farmer community or uplifting the entire agricultural sector, not only rural households or rural poor households, but the entire fraternity of the population which is engaged in this business of agriculture. So this is important pointers of the background related to FAO. FAO is a United Nations organization. It was founded in 1949 with headquarters in Rome in Italy. Efforts to defeat hunger and improve nutrition and food security. Mission to achieve food security for all, ensuring people have regular access to sufficient food and most importantly high quality food. Apart from that, the key objectives is eradicate hunger, sustainable agriculture, rural development. Now there was one question which came in prelims which I would definitely want to talk about, that is your Codex Alimentarius. So Codex Alimentarius had come previously in UPSC exam. This is basically related to the rules and the rules regulation which FAO comes with, that is Food and Agricultural Organization. Food standard, establish international food standards through Codex Alimentarius. Codex Alimentarius is a collection of internationally recognized standards, codes of practice, guidelines and other recommendations published by Food and Agricultural Organization. So these are certain facts which are related to FAO. Now let's move to the next news. That is manufacturing marketing of antibiotics be regulated, prescription to be mandatory. Now we have seen that whenever we want today any medicine or we want any antimicrobial drug or antibiotic, we straight away go to the drug store or the chemist store and straight away get it. Now the problem which has come, and this has been covered in the newspaper for quite a long time now, that our resistance to these drugs has been increasing and this is not good for us. So coming to this news, so the Drug Technical Advisory Board, DTAB has proposed including all antibiotics in the definition of new drugs under the New Drugs and Clinical Trial NDCT Rules 2019. Why are they doing it? The major reason is that if you want to take any antimicrobial drug or antibiotics, you cannot straight away go to a drugstore and buy it. You need to have a prescription slip from a doctor so that the resistance which is increasing to these drugs reduces. Okay, so the recommendation seeks to combat antimicrobial resistance which is increasing. which is increasing, which is recognized as a growing global public health threat. It is not only about India, it is happening worldwide. So that is why this news is very important, and the steps are being taken by DTAP, Drug Technical Advisory Board. So stricter regulation, manufacturing, marketing and sale of antibiotics will be documented and regulated by central government. Now there are many illegal organizations which also come with these antibiotic drugs. They are fake drugs, they are being sold, and as you know that India being one of the largest producer of the generic drugs, this is a huge problem in our country. Patients will only be able to buy antibiotics only on prescription. This is a very important news, that only on prescription you would be able to buy these antibiotic drugs. So labeling requirements would be there. Labeling requirements, a blue strip would be made and they would be sold only to the people who have the right license, and the sale of these products to non-pharmaceutical industries without proper licenses will not be done. Apart from that, ICMR report, that is Indian Council Medical Research report, says that highlighted increasing drug resistance to common antibiotics in treating infections like UTIs, bloodstream infection, pneumonia and typhoid in India. So that means if the resistance is increasing, the previous dose of drug which you used to take, now that dose would need to be increased, and if the dose of that particular chemical in that drug has to be increased, it is not very good for the body. So again, today you go to any medical store, drug store, you buy medicine and you keep popping. So that is not good for our health, that is not good for our bodies, and that is why this report has come, and that is why the steps are being taken by DTAP. So again, if you need a medicine, do take prescription from a doctor. Do not ask your friend or anyone else. That is not great. Okay, so global health concern, antimicrobial resistance is now considered a serious global issue. It's not only about India, it's increasing worldwide. So we need to mitigate the misuse of antibiotics, antivirals and antifungals. The medicines which are cheaply and invariably available at any drugstore in India, and at many places they don't even ask for the doctor slip. They are ready to give you that medicine and you are ready to pop in that medicine. So the recommendation will be further discussed by the Drug Consultative Committee. So now moving to the next news, there are a lot of news today. Next is, what does the Global Hunger Index 2024 state about India? So as per this report, among 127 countries, India's rank is 105 with a score of 27.3. So not a great score, and obviously the report talks about that India needs to improve. We just covered the news of agriculture, where the FAO report has come on the Indian rural farmers or the rural poor households which are engaged in farming, and how their income is affected by the climate change. Similarly, in this news, again we come out, the Global Hunger Index 2024 reports a serious level of hunger in India, ranking country 105th out of 127 countries with a score of 27.3. Report notes India's significant political will. That the report does talk something positive, that there is a political will, that we have come with National Food Security Act, then Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana, Poshan Abhiyan, PM Garib Kalyan Yojana. These schemes are good, but again the push which needs to be there, the push needs to be increased so that the inclusivity increases, and the 4 parameters on which this report is there, that is child nourishment, stunting, wasting and child mortality, that can be taken care of. So however, it also highlights an intergenerational pattern of undernutrition, that it also says that if child is undernutrition is there, or he is undernutrition, that's the problem is not only of child, it is also at the time of pregnancy, if the mother's nutrition is not well. If the mother's nutrition is not well, then again this problem will continue. So you need to take care of mother, and you also need to take care of the baby also. So mother, baby, child, so this needs to be holistically seen. So it also highlights intergenerational pattern. So intergenerational pattern relates to child and to the mother. When the baby is being born, if the mother does not get the nutrition, then the child will be part of this undernourishment, stunting, wasting, the 4 major parameters. So again, 4 major parameters are child stunting, undernourishment, child wasting and child mortality. If we talk about child stunting, so this is percentage of children, under 5 years whose height is not as per the mark which should be there. Similarly, child wasting is that child and the percentage of children under 5 years whose weight is not proportionate to their height. And then next is your child mortality, percentage of children under 5 years who die whose death comes before they complete their 5th birthday. And then there is undernourishment. So 13.7% of population is undernourished, 35.5% of children are stunted, 18.7% of children are wasted. This is highest globally. This data is related to India. 2.9% of children die before their 5th birthday. So if we talk about all these pointers, if you see, so again, not a very great number for India, and definitely we need to do a lot to improve this. Rest I've given: child stunting, percent of children under 5 years have a lower height for their age. Undernourishment, the proportion of population that lacks, they do not get the right caloric intake. Child wasting, share of children under 5 have a low weight for their height, indicating acute malnutrition. And child mortality, the percent of children who die before their 5th birthday, a reflection of child health and nutrition. So India's GDP growth and hunger. Now, continuously when we talk about these reports, our angle comes that India's GDP is increasing. India is the 5th largest economy in the world. Soon it will become the 3rd largest economy. See, GDP numbers will not always signify, they will not always talk about that how you are able to counter the social problems. So you might have a higher GDP. Now GDP might be dependent on industries, economy. They might not be exactly covering the social parameters, the social problems, the child nourishment, child wasting, stunting, and all these issues. So again, the report states that GDP growth does not necessarily translate into improved food and nutrition. So until unless our focus of our budget increases on health, like for example, if we go to 19, 20, 21, so during the COVID years, our budget in health has expanded, but again it has come down. So, that was a very much of reactive approach than a proactive approach. So we knew that we needed to increase the budget in health, we increased it, but rather now the budget has again come down compared to the COVID years. So again, coming back to this, that if you have a higher GDP growth does not necessarily mean that your social parameters are higher. So proposed solution: improved social safety nets such as PDS, Pradhan Mantri, Garib Kalyan Yojana, ICDS, investment in agriculture, mother and child health, not only child health but mother health also. So if the issue which we spoke about, intergenerational pattern. So if you want to stop this problem, this would only be solved when you start concentrating on mothers also. If you do not concentrate on mothers, this will not be solved. So mother and child health, water, sanitation, hygiene, address link between food, nutrition, gender and climate change. Now we have plethora of schemes in the country. So schemes is not the problem, implementation of schemes is the problem. Like we have multiple security organizations. So we keep creating more organizations. Similarly, in social or administrative patterns, we do the same. So the organization is not the problem, scheme is not the problem. There has to be perfect accountability and authority to implement. First of all, authority to implement scheme, and then accountability that scheme is being implemented. Until that happens, we will only be coming up with new schemes, and these problems and these articles will continue. Okay. So debate over now again. So Ministry of Women and Child Development is saying that this data which is collected by this report is not correct, because they are saying that we have a Poshan tracker, and apart from, if we go to the Poshan tracker, the wasting rates would be lower. So they are talking about wasting rates. Rest of the rates they are agreeing that stunting is fine, child nourishment might be fine, or child mortality, but this rate is not correct. And then the organization, the Global Hunger Index, is saying that we are using our own vetted global data which we have taken out from surveys, and we can't go through our data. So again, this is a problem of data wars which is happening rather than finding a solution to this problem. Next is Iran warns of decisive response of Israel strikes. So now if we talk about Israel, Iran, now Israel, there's an issue of Palestine which was there, then the 7th October attack happens, then the Hamas comes, then the Hezbollah comes, and now there's probably Israel might attack the military areas of Iran, since they have given their words or they have spoken to America that they will not be targeting the oil areas of Iran, and they will not be targeting the nuclear establishment, because Iran has straight away said that if you target our oil areas or oil establishment or nuclear establishment, we would destroy the similar things, in Saudi, UAE and other the West Asian countries. So this is currently going on. We would be covering this issue in detail, because again, this is again a huge session if you want me to cover Israel with Iran, Israel with Hezbollah, Israel with Hamas. But right now I just want you to know that two important leaders has been killed. One is Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh and Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah. And once Hassan Nasrallah was killed, that was in the intelligence fraternity, that was one of the best operations. Then you have that pager operation which was done by Israel, and the agency of Israel which did that operation was 8200 unit, 8200, that is a cyber warfare unit of Israel which did that operation. And you must have recently heard Chief of Defense Staff, Chief of Army Staff of India has told that these operations were master stroke operations which were done by Israel from the point of view of intelligence. So we'll be covering this. I just wanted to share with you that certain map areas. So if you see, this is your Iran and this is your Israel. So just to clear, if anybody is thinking that there would be a military operation and tanks and the infantry would be moving out of Israel and doing an attack on Iran, that is not happening. If any kind of attack which happens from Israel, that would be an air attack. They have F-35 planes. F-35 is a 5th generation aircraft carrier. The signature of this aircraft on radar is very low. So most importantly, they would be targeting military establishments of Iran in future. Only time will tell when this attack happens, because as of now, Benjamin Netanyahu has agreed that he will not be targeting the oil establishment and nuclear establishment, because the escalation would be higher. Because if that happens, then if that happens, now around 80 to 85% of India's oil come from this area, Persian Gulf and Gulf of Oman. So if this area gets embroiled in a war, then this Saudi, Oman, Yemen, Iraq and all these areas, then again the inflation will increase, and overall that will not be good for India, and for many countries the oil prices will start increasing. That is why there is a huge amount of pressure on Israel that not to attack on the nuclear establishment and the oil establishments of Iran. On some other day we'll be digging deeper in this particular issue and we'll get to know about it, but as of right now, this is what I wanted to share, and these are the countries: Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, which are sharing borders. So continuously many questions have come in UPSC. The border sharing countries of this particular area, the landlocked countries. So these are maps which you should definitely go. Similarly, if we see which are the neighbors: Jordan, Syria, where is Mediterranean, Cyprus, Red Sea, Gulf of Eden. Now again, if we talk about this area, this is the area where Houthis are there. So you need to remember 3H when it comes to axis of resistance, which is being commanded by Iran. 3H are Houthis, Hezbollah and Hamas. Okay, moving further. The last news for today, that is the editorial. So this is today's editorial. It has come a spotlight on the three researchers who have won the Nobel Economics Prize. So one article was this, and then this was not an editorial, this was part of the text, context and text which comes in Hindu, a Nobel for explaining why nations fail, and everyone is talking about it, and specifically they have spoken about two important things. Let me just go straight away to that. That is inclusive versus extractive institutions. So three people which are in short form known as AJR, Darren A. Smoglu, Simon Johnson and James A. Robinson, for their studies on how economic and political institutions influence countries' prosperity. So if a country has inclusive institution, the chances are that that particular country will become rich. But if a country has extractive institution, the country will not become rich, and probably the amount of poverty or this country having dictator leaders would be high. So inclusive institutions, they are characterized by secure property rights, democracy, they promote long-term growth. So if we go back in the history and we see colonial powers, be it Britishers or any other country, so whichever country they settled and they started living there, they established inclusive institutions there which was good for the country, be it New Zealand or Australia or America. but the geographies which they did not like, or the geographies where they did not settle here means that they stayed there. So that can be example of India. So they'll establish extractive institutions where they would only exploit the economic prowess of the country or whatever economically that country can offer. So this is how the report has divided. Characterized by secure property rights, democracy, they promote long-term growth. So the examples can be Britishers in America, Australia, or some other country. Extractive institution marked by insecure property rights, lack of political freedom, they lead to economic stagnation and poverty. So many countries in Asia where extractive institutions came, this is still there. So colonial impact, colonizer established extractive institution where they didn't settle, example India, inclusive ones where they did. America is an example of inclusive, India is an example of an extractive. So richest 20% of countries are 30 times richer than the poorest 20%. The laureates argue that institution rather than factors like natural resources or colonial history alone explain disparity. So they are not saying that the colonial history is not there or natural resources are not there, but they are talking about the institution, that it is the institution which will make a country rich, or if the country remains poor or the income generation is low. So it is about inclusive institutions and extractive institutions. So there's a very famous book which has been written by Darren S. Monglu and Robinson. So Why Nations Fail, the Origins of Power, Prosperity and Poverty. It's a wonderful book. If you do get time, go through this book. It will give you a lot of data which you can definitely write in your examination also. So why inclusive institutions aren't universal? So this is again, if inclusive institutions are so good, why we still have extractive institution? Because if a dictator or a person who is running this institution and he is able to extract money, income from that particular country, he will continue to do so because of its greed unless a major revolution comes or he feels that his seat can be taken or he might be thrown out of that seat, then only the inclusive institutions might come. So Arab Spring can be an example for that, but even after Arab Spring we know what happened in West Asia. So significance of their work, so basically they talk about these inclusive and extractive institutions in shaping the economic fates of nation, addressing fundamental economic questions about prosperity and development. So that is the major agenda. Now, we have completed today's all important news and editorials. If there is something specific which you want me to cover, please do write in the comment. This is the first lecture, so wherever you find a problem or you want that, sir, please try to include this also in the lecture. I would be doing this. I would be sharing this PDF, and you'll get the entire PDF in your Telegram groups also, which you can use, and I'm very sure that this would be helping you for your own analysis also. So going through a prelims question, because we have decided we'll cover a prelims and a mains question also. So let's see if somebody can answer this question. Consider the following statement regarding Shanghai Cooperation Organization. SCO was founded in 2001 with China, Russia, 5 Central Asian countries as founding members. India, Pakistan joined the SCO as observer states in 2017. The primary focus of SCO is counter-terrorism, economic cooperation, promoting regional stability. Anyone? Which B is wrong, right? Achha, no, which statement is wrong? 1, 2, 3. Second is wrong, because they were not observer states. They are rather they joined in 2017. Iran joined in which year? 2023. Okay, so easy question. Rest 2 statements are correct. And this was a question which came 250 words, 15 marks. Critically examine the aims and objectives of SCO. What importance does it hold for India? Now, for example, if this question comes today, the context would definitely change. Obviously, you will talk about the parameters related to aims, objectives, but obviously, you also need to include what happened in the 2024 meeting, the previous meeting. These are the pointers which you need to include. So, I'm giving you an expected line of answer. How do you answer this? Obviously, don't copy paste this. This is just an expected line of answer so that your answer framing starts. So, for example, some expected pointers, aim and objectives, regional security and stability, counter-terrorism, economic improvement. So, SCO aims to strengthen regional security by combating terrorism, separatism and extremism. Similarly, you have economic cooperation, cultural exchange and diplomatic dialogue. And then importance of SCO for India, countering terrorism, regional connectivity. Now the problem with SCO is that in 2017 Pakistan became part of it, and one of the important parameters of this organization or aim is counter-terrorism. Now Pakistan becoming part of this is one of the biggest hypocrisy in nature, because Pakistan itself is a sponsor of terrorism. So how do we counter that? In SCO, that would be one of the targets for which India needs to work. Regional connectivity, that includes your north-south transport corridor, connectivity with Central Asia. So balancing influence, energy security. One more thing, China wants that SCO becomes an anti-West bloc, something they want to create something similar to NATO, but India is not in favor of that, but China wants to take SCO and create anti-NATO bloc or anti-West bloc, but again India does not want to be part of it, and that is why India's relevance in SCO needs to be very high, so that they can control and tame China also. So recent SCO meeting 2024, this is the meeting which we have discussed earlier in the lecture. So these are certain pointers which you can include. Obviously this question is old, as and when more developments happen, you can include in your answer. So before I end, a wonderful thought for you all people, that either you run the day or the day runs you. So this is a constant problem with most of the aspirants, that if a day does not go well, they decide that next day would be better or the next day would be better, but that day never comes. We have a habit in UPSC of creating multiple timetables, okay? 3 months timetable, 6 month timetable, 8 month timetable, 9 month timetable, 10 month timetable, and then we are not able to stick to that timetable. See, 100% sticking to a timetable is very difficult. With my experiences and number of exams which I have cleared in my life, if you are able to target or complete 70 to 75% of timetable, that is a great achievement, because when we are preparing for a UPSC or any other examination, our preparation is always like this. It cannot be like this. It will never be. Before the prelims or before the UPSC examination, we have the tendency, the spirit is very high, that we try to study 15, 17, 18 hours. Rest of the days it might hover around 10, 12, 13 hours. So consistency is very important, rather than you study for 15 hours and the next 3 days you are not studying at all. So again, either you run the day or the day runs you. So either you will decide that how you will run the day, or either, for example, if you enter your table and there's a particular book of Lakshmikant or any other book which you decide, or either you can keep 25 books there of the same subject and your mind will start wavering which one to read. Or there are 2 of your friends start calling you that I completed this, and then you start hearing and you also want to complete this. So if you have decided these are the topics you need to complete, this is the way your day should go, that is exactly up to you. So command your day, command your syllabus, command your exam, and definitely success will be yours. So with this positive thought, I end today's lecture, and thank you very much. Take care and bye-bye and Jai Hind.